Oh, hello there, you've made it. Congratulations and welcome to Weight Loss 360 with Boots Online Doctor. I'm Helen Thorn, comedian and author, and 3 years ago I decided to change my life. I wanted to break old habits and have more energy and just feel good. It wasn't a quick fix, but healthy, long-term weight loss takes time. And it's more than just your diet or that number on the scale. It's small, gradual changes that include everything from sleep to managing stress too. Look, I know this can feel overwhelming, and that's why we're here. Weight Loss 360 with Boots Online Doctor offers experts' insights and evidence-based tips to help empower you to make small changes every day that can have a big impact on your weight loss, on your energy, and your health. It's 360-degree care for 360-degree success. While the information shared here comes from a wonderful team of experts from Boots Online Doctor to help you achieve and maintain weight loss, if you have any health concerns or questions, please always consult your GP before making any changes to your diet or lifestyle. A lot of weight loss success comes down to committing to yourself and to your journey. So why not commit to a new habit while listening to this podcast? I don't know, maybe go for a walk or do the washing up while you listen. It's only 30 minutes. Well, probably 25 by now. And on that note, it's time to meet the rest of the team and get this thing started. I'm here with the wonderful Dr. Sam, who will be joining me every week and is our resident Boots Online Doctor weight loss expert. Hello, Sam.
Hi Helen, hi everybody. My name is Dr Samantha Wellappili. I am clinical lead GP here at Boots Online Doctor for lifestyle medicine. I'm also an empowerment coach and mentor. I'm an author, I'm a nutritional and yoga therapist, and I'm super excited about being part of this podcast team and being able to share the support and the guidance that we can to really support this long-term healthy and holistic weight loss journey for our listener.
Wonderful. And next to you is the wonderful Ruth Taylor. Hello, Ruth.
Hi Helen, I'm the in-house nutritionist with Boots Online Doctor and also a registered nurse, and I really love helping people to make lifestyle changes that can support their long-term health and well-being, and also to support them through their weight loss journeys. So I'm here to provide you with some practical advice as to how we can put in place some of the recommendations we're going to be making and to make some simple swaps.
We're in safe hands, people. This is very exciting. I'm very, very pleased to be kicking off this first episode. And it's all about mindset today, isn't it? So, Sam, kick us off with this episode's 1-minute intro and let our listeners know what we're talking about today.
So today's focus is going to be on your personal reason for starting this weight loss journey in the first place. So really, we want to encourage you to connect with your reason why you're starting this journey. We're going to be focusing on setting your goals and supporting yourself along the way with your powerful intentions. We'll also touch on the 80-20 rule, which is actually a really handy and very realistic way to approach this journey so that you stay on track.
I love the 80-20 rule, by the way, which is, of course, make good, healthy choices 80% of the time, and the other 20% of the time, be kind to yourself. Enjoy. Eat the cake, people. It's okay. You're gonna have a good time. You can still go out. This is not about restrictions. This is just about living your best life. Now, this is so important, isn't it? Making that big decision. We all talk about, that first step is the hardest. Now, my relationship with food was a mess for a long time. No, food was, it was about getting the most food in the most quickest way. It was there to numb me, and I would be in that cycle of like not having any energy, eating, feeling more tired, then having dips and then spikes with sugar. And it was, look, I got there, people. I got there, and we've got the right people at hand to teach you how to do it properly and with those sustainable changes. Now, I had to have a good relationship with food. I love food. I'm sure everyone listening loves food, but what worked for me, I think, was that no foods were off limits. I think that it's such a bad thing when we have cheat days or bad food or whatever. This was about understanding what food worked for me, and loving what I ate and making choices that made me feel good, and that's such a game changer. So, I guess where do we even begin? Sam, help me, help everybody. Where do we begin with the mindset of making a really big choice for yourself?
Thanks, Helen. So yes, absolutely. And I love that your own journey that you're sharing, because it's really powerful to hear from someone who's lived this and who continues to live it right now. So what I really recommend to anyone starting on a journey of transformation, which, let's face it, that is what a journey of weight loss is. It really is a big transformation because it is transforming multiple areas of your life, which we will be talking about in this series, Weight Loss 360, really having that holistic perspective. But we want to start with really looking at why you are beginning this journey, which will no doubt have ups and downs. Okay, we know that no big journey of transformation is a straight line. We always know that there will be times which are much easier and times which are trickier. So having a really strong motivation and an internal motivation is what we really want to look for, a deep and personal reason why you want to lose the weight, why you want to be healthier, why you want to feel better in your body, and to really give it some thought and consider it and find that emotional nugget, almost that kind of little hook that really resonates with you, that will really support you when times get a bit tricky and get a little bit tougher, because there will be temptations, there will be times where you're stressed or when something is not going your way in life, and food can be what we reach for comfort, or times when, we might sacrifice some of our sleep, or we might not be as kind to ourselves as we know we ought to be. So think about why you're on this journey. And what I mean by a deeply personal reason, and it's going to be different for each of us. I'll give you an example of what it could be. It might be that from your point of view, being able to run around, have the energy, have the sort of freedom of movement to run around with your children is really motivating for you. That's what I'd really love to be able to do that. I'd really love to be able to run around with my children. And that's what losing weight would give me. Okay, so it could be, I want to be the best parent I can be. And that is also could be maybe setting a great example for your children of different lifestyle choices that give you this body that has more energy, that feels really easy when you're moving, and you're not out of puff, you can move around freely. So that could be my why for losing the weight, is I want to be the best parent I can be. It's a really powerful statement, and it's something you can write on post-it notes, stick it on your bathroom mirror, on the fridge door, just as that motivational kind of aid memoir, if you like, that kind of, this is why I'm doing this. When times get tough, this is why I'm doing it. So I'm going to get myself back on track, And of course, we're remembering that 80-20 split, but we still want to have that little bit of a push, that nudge to get us back on track when we're, when times present themselves that are not so easy.
Very much so. And I think the other thing to think about really right at the start is to set a goal. Really try and make that realistic, something that is within reach. And if your goal is really somewhere in the future for you to get to, think about making some smaller steps. So you almost like map out a journey. And the sort of research tells us if we create that as an achievable step, we're much more likely to manage it. So, if the goal is a long way off, make your first step something within grasp and something that you can achieve. So if that's weight loss, you might be thinking about your first half a stone or your first 2 or 3 kilos and what that means to you. And then think about what this means to you. Is this sort of like going to make you feel really happy? What is that sense of achievement going to bring to you? What are you going to feel from it? Because if we connect with a bit like what you're saying, the why, but also the emotions of how you're going to feel once you've achieved that, you're going to feel great. We know that actually feeling those positive emotions can really boost us along the way and get us to where we want to be. So it's really important to get that emotional connection in there as well, I think.
Yeah, I loved what you said about it being a realistic journey and looking at it in that step-by-step way. I think that's so key, and to really look at it as a long game and really succeeding at this long game.
Yeah, I think, and so many of the listeners will have done the short-term diets that are restrictive, and it's all about not having things. Now, that's not what we're here about. This is about gaining things. The loss will be the gain, so to speak.
That's such a good way of putting it. Yeah, we really like that. So Helen, tell us, how did you get started? You've told us a little about why, but how did it go for you? How did you get on
Yeah,
the
well, I
road?
guess for me, I started off because I had a big reset in my life. I became divorced and separated, and I always thought I was going to be married. And I think I always thought I was going to be the weight and the way I was. But that decision became out of my control. Like I didn't know I was going to get divorced, and then all of a sudden I thought, oh, I've got this blank canvas on my life. I'm a single mum. I was busier and more tired than I'd ever been, and I thought something has to change, and I need to do this not just for myself, but for my children. I wanted more energy, and I wanted to really just have a positive relationship with food and myself. And I wanted to stop groaning. I don't know if anyone else listening is like that. You know, when I used to get out of a chair, go, oh, I thought, oh, I sound like my mother. I'm only in my early 40s and I've got this, new life. And so I sought help about, changing, like just making small habitual changes, like you said. And, everything I used to think that was a treat, like staying up late. I've got more time, I can stay up late. Then sleep became the treat. Or, treating myself was like a big dessert and a big dinner. No, treating myself was having beautiful food that made me feel good. So it was just really small changes, but it just made this huge difference. And I lost the weight and I've kept it off, which is a really lovely feeling. So you can reach those goals, but I did it very slowly.
And that is so key. That is so key, what you just said there, this real steady journey and this real viewpoint of this is a journey of nurturing, of self-nurturing, of self-nourishing, and walking those steps, just being kind to yourself every step of the way, because we can be so hard on ourselves when we begin a journey like this. We're going to talk a bit more about self-talk and the way that we address ourselves later on, but I'm really, really happy that that's really a one of those real foundational stones that we're putting in here with our mindset and how we speak to ourselves, how we support ourselves on a journey that is going to be a journey for a while. It's going to take some time, and that's great. That's kind of the give yourself that time. It's a gift.
I want to ask you both about, how do you start this whole new mindset? I mean, what advice would you give to our listener who's out there thinking, how do I even know? How do I know what to do?
It's a great question, and I think it's really important that we engage in a positive way with our intentions every day. So it's a nice way to start to formulate an intention for our days as we are starting all these new habits or making small changes here and there. For example, we might want to change our bedtime, so we're not staying up all night doom scrolling or watching TV, binge watching, etc., which we all can get into that. We can all get into those habits, and they are not particularly helpful, and we will talk much more about the importance of sleep later on. We want to frame our intentions positively, and then that also really helps us get into that more kind and positive frame of mind, because often our inner critic can be kind of loud and kind of forecast doom for us, which makes life hard for us, right? So what we could do, let me give you an example of an intention that you might want to set, or find one that resonates with you. So for example, you could say, my intention for today is I will go to bed by 10 p.m, for example. And that could just be something that you say to yourself in the morning, or something that you put in your journal. And notice how it's I will go to bed by 10 p.m. rather than I won't go to bed late. So there's more of a positive framing. So it's a small detail, but it makes a difference, because you're kind of programming yourself when you set these intentions, when you're making even affirmations. If you set them in a positive frame, it can really support your neural pathways and the way that you actually empower yourself over the day.
Yeah, very much so. That whole sort of setting that intention, the research tells us that actually it really helps to create these new high roads in our brain that we call neural pathways. And those are really important for making habits. So one of the things that we know that people need to do when they're on this weight loss journey for real, for the whole 360, then we know that it's got to be new habits, and we have to really come to terms with perhaps as you were saying, Helen, what some of our old habits are, what we might need to let go of over time, and what we need to embrace and make part of our new world going forwards. And it sounds simple. We know it can be complicated. It isn't always simple, but it is about just taking one step at a time, setting that intention and being really clear with yourself about what that is.
Absolutely. And being really kind to yourself with your words as well, as you walk forwards, remembering 80-20 and walking forwards with that kind of positive energy moving forwards, for want of a better word.
So, ladies, we have set our intentions. Now, how do we set our new habits? How do we change? How do we, this feels like the hardest bit, doesn't it? So what are some easy ways we can make new habits for ourselves?
It can be hard.
Yeah.
Let's not pretend. But equally, let's make it simple. And I think start by choosing something that you know is within reach. It's got to be something tangible, something is reasonably straightforward for you to do. Leave all the hard stuff till later. And then set that intention. Know what your habit is that you're going to be working on making a new habit. And remember, it's just like anything else. So if you're learning to ride a bike and you fall off, you get back on and you carry on. And making a new habit is exactly the same. You have to just practice. Don't expect to get it right first time. Don't beat yourself up if you get it wrong. It doesn't matter. In fact, if you get it wrong, learn from it. Learn what it was that triggered you to get it wrong. Was it an emotion? Was it something stressful? Was there something going on in your life that tripped you up in that moment? Because if you learn, then next time you're in that situation, you might be able to get it right. And I think that's the key, isn't it? It's just think about it as practicing. Yeah.
Absolutely. And we have to remember, right, that we, as humans, as people on this journey, we can really sabotage ourselves and we can get kind of dejected if we slip up a little way. But let's remember that, we are really wanting to win the long game. This is not going to be an overnight thing. We are not looking for dramatic weight loss. In fact, we really are not. We're looking for that steady change over time. This journey is going to take some time, and that's fine. That is how we get into that frame of mind, or that state where our mind and body kind of get in sync, and we cognitively get used to our new habits, our new changes, and they become our natural behaviours. It's going to take time. This is not a journey that we go on overnight and everything changes tomorrow. So I totally agree with Ruth. Like, pick the low-hanging fruit and just start with one or two things to change in the beginning. And remember our 80-20, but just give yourself a bit of that leeway, because really we are thinking long-term and steady changes that all add up to that long-term result.
Yeah, and I think the key is when you actually achieve it, when you nail it, even if it's once and then you get it wrong, remember you nailed it. Hold on to that feeling of success. Really recognise that achievement, because that will really help reinforce and make it something that you do more easily the next time. So that's part of that process, is actually we're not really taught to recognise our achievement. And I think that's maybe something for us all to take forward, is actually congratulate yourself. Say, well done, I did it. So Helen, we've talked a few times about this 80-20.
Yes, we have.
What does it mean to you?
The big reveal. Okay.
Yeah.
So 80-20 was something I was told by my nutritionist when I started out, that 80% of the time, make a conscious decision to eat well, sleep well, reduce your stress, all that sort of stuff. All the things that you know how to live well and eat properly and eat food. But 20% of the time, enjoy yourself, give yourself a break, eat the cake at the birthday party, have that glass of champagne at the wedding, all those sort of things. And I think that was the gentlest and most realistic approach, because I've done fad diets. I've done that sort of, I've got to lose 5 pounds by this, and it's not sustainable. And also it sets you up for failure. And I think the wonderful way that you guys talk about making these small changes is that it will last. And you'll feel really good about yourself. And I love that you're talking about the small wins, Ruth, because that's what I used to do. Just writing down a little tick box list, like I'll go to bed a bit earlier tonight, or I'll eat sitting down, or I'll turn off my devices when I'm eating, or I'll just have a slightly smaller portion size, or I'm not going to have soda today, or things like that. Small little changes that are going to do you good. I think that's wonderful. 80-20 is such a great rule. It's basically saying that you know how to live well on those most of the days, and you probably shouldn't have a glass of wine every night and all those sort of things, but really enjoy yourself, because you've got this wonderful life to live and you can do this. So that's for me. I think it's great. And I think guilt and punishing yourself it can really knock you off track, and it can really deflate you, and it's really hard. And I'm sure you guys have seen that with the clients that you've worked with, that you go, oh, I can't do this. And then you're just in that cycle again, and you'll get off track. But yeah, you're human. You have to have a way of living that works well for you. And part of that is the joy of food and sharing with friends and celebrations.
You've put that in such a great way, Helen. Thank you so much. It really is about that enjoyment of food. And we're going to pick up on this in another podcast that we're going to do all about food. But safe to say that we want you to really find that relationship with food that is just really, really mutually beneficial in a way. We want everyone who is on this weight loss journey to still enjoy their food. That's really important. It's really important to still have this joy that comes from eating and living life, as you say, celebrating. But we want you to do it in a way that really nurtures you, nourishes you, and really keeps you on track with your goals, because you have a deep reason why you are on this weight loss journey in the first place.
Now, we're going to finish up with a question from the weight loss community that you have. The problem is that I eat for stress. I feel full, even burping, goodness, but still eating, and I can't stop. What can I do? I think we've all done that. Just eat and eat and eat. And food just feels like, the go-to, doesn't it? That's the first thing you go for.
Yeah, absolutely. And it's something that I'm sure will resonate with some folks who are listening in. But I think we have to look at, just break the question down, because I often see these questions, they come into us, don't they? And they're written in a way that kind of really shows this kind of negative and quite defeated point of view, which I totally can see that that's a real thing. But I think it's really valuable to look at how we frame these questions and how we talk to ourselves, and how much do we believe in ourselves. So if we're telling ourselves, I cannot do this, I am always like this, I will never X, we really need to reflect on that and take a look at it. And it's not about harsh judgment. It's just about, gosh, I say these things to myself all the time, and it's reinforcing. It's these negative and limiting beliefs. I think we've all heard of what a limiting belief is, but they are these limitations that we put on ourselves. So what I think is really important as a first step is to notice, is to first shine that light of awareness on the things that you say to yourselves and the things you put out there. So really taking care when you make statements that start with I am. Like, I am so bad at self-sabotaging myself, or whatever it might be. I'm always going to bed late, or I'm always doom scrolling, or, I'm always binge watching Netflix, or what have you. We have to really look at those things, because we're kind of putting it, reinforcing those pathways, because we're telling ourselves that all the time. And then it almost becomes true because we're reinforcing it, and we're kind of, we are not helping ourselves on this journey. So I would really firstly sort of look at the way that we talk to ourselves and just be kind and see if we can reframe ourselves. And we talked about intentions earlier on. We talked about setting intentions, and these can even be affirmations. So, and framing things positively so that they have that uplifting tone, that tone of self-belief. So for example, we could reframe and say something like, I have control over my eating habits. I stop eating when I feel full and satisfied. We can think of, different ways that we can frame something so that we rewrite the story.
Someone once said, speak to yourself like you're speaking to a friend. Like, you wouldn't say to your friend, you can't do this, or, you'll never lose weight, or you're going to fail. Speak to yourself like, you're a dear friend. And I think that's a really nice way of doing it. And that really changed the mindset for me, because I thought, no, I love my friends, and you should love yourself, and feel that self-worth. And you deserve this. You deserve this happy, healthy life.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think that's just such a valid and really important point, the sort of self-love, the self-appreciation, the sort of recognising your worth, and actually stop telling yourself these negative beliefs, because they really limit how far you can go. So try and catch yourself in the act and stop it. And actually one of the things you can do is just say stop in your own head and actually reframe it in that moment. The other thing you can do is, for practical strategies, because I'm all about the practicalities, is think about using a food diary and actually track your food, track your mood, track what it is that triggered you to eat in the first place, track how you felt once you'd had that food. And I think there will be a downloadable food and mood journal or diary that you can download on the podcast notes, so that's something that you can find, hopefully. But if not, just get a piece of paper. It really doesn't have to be anything too exciting. It can just be a piece of paper. Keep a note of why you're eating, when you're eating, how you feel when you're eating, what your emotions are. Try and connect with the emotion around and how the food made you feel, because actually I think when we do that, we can find out that some foods make us feel great, others maybe less great. Some foods can really, really play havoc with our emotions as well. So, and just create that whole mindset around setting the intention, really thinking that strategy through, really congratulating yourself when you achieve something, because it's really important. And we know that the more that we reinforce that positive behaviour, the more it's going to be easy to get it right. So you can wake up tomorrow and you're a little bit of a step further forward. And that's all it is, little steps.
Yeah, I think having that diary was the biggest game changer for me. And just what I did in the beginning, I was just eating normally, like not making any changes, but just wrote down what was, I'd always ordered lasagna when I went out, or if I went out hungry to a restaurant, I'd order the biggest food possible, because that felt like a win, like, oh, I've got the biggest pizza. But how did I feel afterwards? And then when I started making little changes, like, oh my God, I feel amazing after having my salmon stir fry, and I had energy and I didn't, grab for sugar and things like that. So those little changes are so important. And I think you're right. We often disassociate food with like, well, I just need that many calories or whatever. But it can make you feel amazing.
Absolutely. And the reverse, it can make you feel really,
yes,
really flat and terrible. So
why can't I get off the sofa?
But I think we've all experienced that, right? And the food and mood diary is not about judgment. It's really about giving you that insight of, gosh, this is where I am. Okay, what if I start making those little changes? What difference does it make? And how do I feel? And, oh, maybe I should be drinking a bit more water, actually. Oh, okay, it affected my appetite because, gosh, I only had like half a cup of water that morning, or what have you, and I ended up eating more. It's for you. It's interesting to see where those patterns are and where those changes can be made. And it kind of gives you a framework to say, okay, this is where I am, and okay, what happens when I make changes?
Absolutely. And I even did a little change where every time I went to the supermarket, I'd always buy myself, tempted by those bars at the checkout, because they get you every time. I'm like, I've just done a big shop and I need that for energy to get me back home, to walk up the hill. And then I was just like, no, I'm not going to do that today. And so I gave myself like a big sticker going, well done, you didn't buy.
So cool.
Things like that. I think that's, you just want some little wins, and you're like, I've felt in control, when at times we thought, no, but I always do that. That's me. And you can change. You can. You're going to get there.
Story.
You're going to get there.
Yeah, you're rewriting your story, and you change that always statement. I always get a chocolate bar. No, you don't. You don't. You're in control.
Yeah.
And it's fantastic. Yeah. And you rewarded yourself, which reinforces that of like, and I liked what you were saying earlier about some of us love tick boxes. I love tick boxes, like to-do lists and ticking stuff off. So satisfying. And maybe that's your thing too. It doesn't have to be that could be something that gives you that reward. It could be something that simple of just like, check, I did it. I did it, and great. That gives you a little bit of a dopamine rush and like, yes, I feel happy with myself.
And that I did it. It's just the most powerful thing, isn't it? That
Absolutely.
sense of control you were saying, Helen. It's just, that's it. That's what we want.
And the fear, it's just overcoming those fears. Like, you would fear going out for dinner because you're like, oh, I'm just going to make bad choices. I'm going to have too many wines and then I'll have pudding. When you just make that first, that first night out, you're like, no, I can still have fun. I don't have to have an entire bottle of Prosecco. I can, I can have some fizzy water. Or I can do, there's just little changes, and you're like, it doesn't mean that your life is less.
Totally.
Or that you're not the fun person anymore.
Yeah.
Oh, yes.
And it becomes easier as well. Every little step, it just becomes a little bit easier, doesn't it? To just be that, to walk in your own new shoes.
Yeah. And that, your friends will still think you're fun. You can still, you can still do all those things. Because I think that's it. That's the big changes. Like, how will other people perceive me? And most of the time, I would say 100% of the time, people are there to cheer you on. Yeah,
absolutely. We get these foundation stones in first, and then we build.
Absolutely. Okay, we've covered a lot in this fabulous first episode, but what we're going to do, listener, for every episode is round it all off with our top tips. So I'm going to ask our experts to give us their 3 top tips all about mindset.
Okay, so first is all about your why. So that is your deeply connected, that very personal reason why you're starting on this journey in the first place. Spend some time, reflect on it, consider it, write it down, stick it on your bathroom mirror, on the fridge door, and remember to frame it in a positive way.
Ruth?
Yeah, so I'm thinking set your intention. Maybe even write it down or make a voice note on your phone, because for some of us, we don't like writing, we don't have the time, or we just get struck by brainwave as to what really is going to be the thing. And just remind yourself before you go to bed, first thing in the morning, because that can really help reinforce that habit to become something that you do. So make it simple.
The third tip from this show would be all about practicing those new habits. So really, once you've set your why, you've got your intentions, practicing those new habits and taking it step by step. So you're not changing everything at once. You're practicing those 1 or 2 things, and you're rewarding yourself when it goes really well. You're ticking that box, or you're just doing an inwards, yes, you did it. I did it. I didn't buy that chocolate bar as I was at the supermarket checkout. That's amazing. That's a win.
I went to bed before midnight, all those sort of things. Just tiny little changes, and they will, I promise you, make such a big impact over time. And you can do it. You can do it, listener. Well, that's enough for today, sadly. I could talk to these women for ages, but good news is there's going to be more episodes coming up. Weight Loss 360 is a fresh air production with Boots Online Doctor. The producer is Ollie Seymour. We've got a bonus episode coming your way in a few days' time, all about setting realistic weight loss goals. And next week, we'll be exploring loving the food that loves you back and our fundamental relationship with food. Thanks for listening. Now, don't forget to follow Weight Loss 360 with Boots Online Doctor wherever you listen to your podcasts, so you never miss an episode. And make sure you check out Boots Online Doctor Weight Loss Service for a whole load of other amazing advice and for free resources, including a weekly live webinar where our experts can answer your questions. Now, remember, every small change is a big step towards a healthier, happier you.